Hello, my name is Tempe, and welcome to Horizontal Guitar. We're going to take a look at the guitar and the notes along each string. This visual approach helps you see the layout of the notes on the guitar. Viewing the guitar like this can be used in any style and any skill level. This video is divided into two sections. In the first section, we're going to take a look at the notes up and down each string. In the second section, we're going to look at some musical examples and how you can take this new concept and apply it to your own music. Usually the guitar is taught in one of two different ways. One is with numbers. You're given a string number, 1 through 6, and you're given a fret number to find that note, kind of like grid coordinates. The problem with that is you have no idea what key you're in, the names of the notes, or any of that sort of thing. You don't have any of this other information. The other way that it's taught is vertically, in position, this way. Usually the student is given a bunch of chord shapes and a bunch of scale shapes, and they're taught where the roots are for those shapes, and then they learn how to connect them up and down the neck. But they don't necessarily know all the other notes of the scale or chord shape that they're working on. And that was something that I was personally frustrated with. I wanted to be able to see the notes all over the neck and not be limited to some kind of a shape for a chord or a scale. And so I stumbled on this working horizontally along one string. And what I did was I started off improvising just on the high E string in the key of C major, which is all your natural notes. We're going to get into that as we progress. And I found that the names of the notes and the sounds really started to stick for me, and that was what I was looking for. And I got excited about that, so I worked through all the different strings through a bunch of different keys and even worked on chords that way. And I found that by looking at the guitar horizontally, when I started to apply that vertical approach, whether it's playing in position or working on these common chord shapes, common scale shapes, like the caged method or pentatonics, that stuff made a lot more sense to me, and I can see how they're connected. And the end goal, of course, is to make music out of this stuff. And for me, this method really worked. And this is the first lesson that I give for all of my students. And everybody that I've worked on, whether they're young and they're brand new or they've been at this for a while, this usually makes things click for them. And it's a great framework, a great foundation for anyone to have, no matter what style of music they play and no matter what level they're at. So let's get started with this. The piano is actually a very logical instrument. It's like a number line, but for music. You have it's a straight line. In one direction, the notes go lower and lower and lower, and in the other direction, they go higher and higher and higher. And you have one note per octave. So, for instance, out of all those keys, there's only one middle C. So when you see that in the music, or you want to play a middle C, there's no doubt about where that note exists on the piano. On the guitar, things are a little bit different. The guitar is very much like a labyrinth. This note C, for instance, exists here, 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 and here. Same pitch, all those different places. That's what makes the guitar very tricky to work with. But if you look at the guitar horizontally along each string, you'll start to see, actually, a piano keyboard. Take a look at this picture of the piano. All the natural notes are on the white keys. Your natural notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and that repeats higher and higher and higher and lower and lower and lower. The black keys are your sharps and your flats. When you move along one string Each fret is like going up or down to a black key or a white key on the piano. If you look along the low E string, for instance, you'll see this very same pattern that happens with the black and white keys on the piano. It's important to see the pattern of black and white keys. Notice that they alternate black and white. There's two spots in every octave where there's no black key. That happens between B and C and E and F. So there's no black key between B and C. And the same happens for E and F. On the guitar, that means that when you're moving along one string, E and F are right next to each other, and B and C are right next to each other. The pattern is the same on every string, it just starts on a different note, whatever that open string happens to be. The pattern that happens on a guitar string also happens on any stringed instrument based on Western harmony. So a banjo, a bass, a cello, violin, they all have this very same pattern that moves up and down the neck. It just depends on what your open string is. If you know the open string and you know the pattern, you can figure out every note along any of those strings. So let's put this stuff on the guitar. What we're going to do is we're going to go along each string. We need to know a few pieces of information first. We need to know the names of the open strings. So from low to high we have E, A, D, G, B, and E. Again, the musical alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it repeats again. As we move up, we're going to only focus on those natural notes. We're not going to worry about the sharps and flats. We have to jump over those, the sharps and flats, and only land on the white keys or the natural notes on the guitar. So, here we go. We have low E, F right next to it, jump to G, A, B, C is right next to it, jump to D, and then we get to E, 12th fret. Now let's take a look at that for a second. Notice that's an E, same as the open string. That's an octave. An octave is a doubling if you're going up, or a halving if you're going down, in vibrations per second. So that low E, when it's in tune, is 82 vibrations per second. This E at the 12th fret on the low E string is 164 vibrations per second. So all of your E's are all related to each other mathematically, all your A's and B's and so on and so on. You've probably heard the term A440. A440 means that A is vibrating at 440 vibrations per second. So it's kind of cool. That's an octave. So 12th fret, every string is the same as the name of that open string. So at the 12th fret from low to high, we have E, A, D, G, B, E. Again, I sort of look at this as a big guitar from the open string to the 12th fret, and then from 12 on up is like a little guitar. It's all the same notes up one octave. And the way the dots are laid out on this guitar, you can really see this. The 3rd fret here, which is my first dot, is the first dot here past the 12th fret. That's one octave apart. And then the 2nd dot, they correlate to each other one octave higher, and so on and so on. So it's visually very logical, very helpful when you're working on this horizontal method. Okay, so we're on the 12th fret, low E string. We're going to work our way back down. Here we go. There's E, jump down to D, jump to C, B is right next to it, jump to A, jump to G, jump to F, and we have open E. Next is the A string. We have A, jump to B, C, right next to it, jump to D, jump to E, F is right next to it, jump to G, jump to A, 12th fret. Back down, we have A, jump to G, jump to F, E is right next to it, jump to D, jump to C, B is right next to it, we have open A. Next, the D string, we have D, E, jump to E, F is right next to it, jump to G, jump to A, jump to B, C is right next to it, jump to D, 12th fret. And we work our way back down, D, jump to C, B is right next to it, jump to A, jump to G, jump to F, E is right next to it, we have open D. Next, the G string. We have G, jump to A, jump to B, C, right next to it, jump to D, jump to E, F is right next to it, jump to G. Back, there's our G, jump to F, E is right next to it, jump to D, jump to C, B is right next to it, jump to A, jump to G. Next is B, C is right next to it, jump to D, jump to E, F is right next to it, jump to G, jump to A, jump to B. Back, so B again, jump to A, jump to G, jump to F, E is right next to it, jump to D, jump to C, B, right next to it. Next is the high E string. E, F is right next to it, jump to G, jump to A, jump to B, C is right next to it, jump to D, jump to E. Back, E, jump to D, jump to C, B is right next to it, jump to A, jump to G, jump to F, E is right next to it. So that's all the natural notes up and down each string, horizontally. Not so bad, if you see the pattern. Let's take a look at some applications for this in a musical setting.